The San Francisco 49ers head into the bye week 4-4, and we are going to discuss how they've actually positioned themselves to go on a run here on the second half of the season. And we can talk about how they do that, maybe potential trades that they could explore that would help them do that. But with where we currently stand with the San Francisco 49ers, the season is far from over, and they have an opportunity to get this thing moving in the right direction really quickly. And that's what we're going to talk about today. As you guys already know what to do, drop an SDS in the chat, smash the like button, and let's talk about it all right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. All right, how are we doing, guys? I can't believe it's already Wednesday. We're getting closer and closer to, for me, to officially go on the bye week. I will be participating in the bye week, a little vacation with the family, be heading out on Friday. And so probably will go a couple days without some content. But until then, we'll get in as much content as we can and kind of position this team and discuss, obviously we're still kind of talking about the performance that the 49ers had against the Dallas Cowboys and how we continue to move that forward into the second half of the season. And obviously, a lot of this is about players that are going to be coming back, players that will be returning to the San Francisco 49ers roster, and the big names that have obviously been linked to the 49ers are Christian McCaffrey and Dre Greenlaw. And so far, a lot of cautious optimism surrounding both of those players. When you look at Dre Greenlaw, when you look at Christian McCaffrey, you know how impactful they are to this team's success on both sides of the football. And the fact that we're effectively just a couple days away from getting Christian McCaffrey back out onto that field, the practice field that is. He's been doing some work. They've talked about kind of a simulated practice week for him to, I think, kind of go through the motions, make sure that things aren't, getting tweaked or aggravated. And then from there, they will potentially get him back into what they call a bonus practice, which will be on Monday. And that will be a big sign of whether Christian McCaffrey will play against the Bucks or not. And the way that I'm reading this and all that we followed with this Christian McCaffrey situation is if he can practice next week, he will play in this game. So, man, you talk about getting off to a hot start outside of the bye. I think this bye probably came, at the right time. I think when we talk about the season and what it's been up until this point, this has been one of the more mentally draining seasons. I think it has been the most mentally draining season that I've been a part of since covering the San Francisco 49ers. I started my particular journey covering the 49ers in 2017. So right when Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch took over is kind of right about when I got my start covering this team. And so I've been along for the ride day in, day out, covering the team like I do now, but for many years now. And so I can at least speak to these last couple years with a lot of confidence. in regards to vibes, energy, the way things have gone. And this by far has been the most exhausting season mentally. And I think that is how it feels inside the building. I think that's how it feels for most fans. I think fans are mentally exhausted through the first 8 weeks. There just have been so many things that have happened since the Super Bowl loss, and I think as a result of that, there just has been a lot of wear and tear mentally from a lot of people involved who either cover the team, who are on the team, or who are fans of the team. It's just been a uh, pretty exhausting ride up until this point. So I think that the bye probably couldn't have come at a better time. The fact that players, staff can check out for a couple days, I think is huge. I really do. I think the ability to just take a step back, kind of recalibrate, shut off the phone. You're not in the building, just get away, man, and just kind of reset and hopefully come back next week recharged, ready to go. And it could put the San Francisco 49ers on a nice track to be able to bounce back. And so hopefully that is what we're looking at. Hopefully that is the case. Hopefully, the 49ers just really get after it. If you just started covering them, why do you have a die-hard fan decoration in that room? What made you be a fan before they went to the Super Bowl and just buy everything with a 49ers logo on it? What? If I just started covering them, 2017, how many years ago was that? Was that 7 years ago? Was that 8 years ago? 7 years ago? Uh, that that doesn't sound like just started covering the 49ers. This Willis jersey, I think I purchased that in, I don't know, 2012. Um, but thank you for shouting at me through your through your comment. Yes, I decided yesterday that I just bought all of this stuff that you can see behind me, and I just threw it on the wall just to, you know, to call myself a 49er fan, apparently. Interesting comment. um, that's 2 years before 2019, which they went to the Super Bowl. Don't act like you're confused. Sounds like Yankin's having a day today. Eat a Snickers, pal. What? All right. This is taking me back to the days when we were in the garage, and the fan who came into our chat who yelled at me, who said I'm not a true 49er fan because I didn't have a Jerry Rice jersey behind me, which is now why we have the Jerry Rice jersey behind me. It's all an inside joke about some fan, because I had a Trent Williams jersey. I think I had the Kittle jersey and the Willis jersey up, and they're like, "Oh, They're like, "Oh, you don't have a Jerry Rice jersey? Wow, not a real fan." Same energy. Shout out Yankin, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, it's been, it's been rough after, the news yesterday that came out, and I'm not gonna lie, this made me laugh. This made me laugh big time. You're right, I'm a bandwagon fan. Huge bandwagon. You caught me. You caught me. I bought all this stuff yesterday on Facebook Marketplace, and we threw it up on the wall, and we decided, you know what, let's start a YouTube channel, and I think within the last month or so, we have somehow, some way, amassed, I think, over 500,000 followers and subscribers across all platforms by being a bandwagon fan. So yes, you're correct. Congratulations, Yankin. You figured me out. What the hell? Oh, I needed a laugh today. And but feel free to stick around, Yankin. Oh, I'm glad all you guys are tapping in with this new bandwagon segment, sponsored by Yankin. Oh, this guy's I'm not gonna lie, I apologize. It's a little entertaining. He says, "So what jerseys did you have before Jimmy G?" Meaning, like, is this like before JG? Um Before Jimmy Garoppolo, I had a Mike Iupati jersey. That shows you how much of a bandwagon fan I am. I have a Mike Iupati jersey. I bet Yankin doesn't even know who Mike Iupati is. Um, I had a Mike Iupati jersey. I had the Willis jersey that you can actually physically see behind me. My firstborn had a Alex Smith jersey back in the day. I had a Taylor Mays jersey. Yankin probably doesn't know who that is. I had a Taylor Mays jersey. I had two Quentin Patton jerseys. Probably another player that Yankin doesn't know who that is. So there's a handful more. But bandwagon fan. You know me with my bandwagon. Mike, I know it's you potty, but for me and the way my brain associates it, I just call him IU body. It's just how my brain works. Um, I'm one of the things that I'm curious is if Yankin knows how to type without the caps lock button on. No, I don't have this in podcast form. That's something I've been slipping on. I know it's something that's really easy of just taking the audio from my lives and dropping it into a podcast. Definitely need to do that. I got a laundry list of things that I'm going to think about over the bye, and things that I want to get better at. I think, you know, I think my coverage throughout the first portion of this year, I think it's been all right. I think I can be better in a lot of ways. So I think that there's a couple things that I want to kind of recalibrate on, and kind of get better at, and add a couple things, add a couple layers. So continuing to fine tune, continuing to get better. Again, I just want to be able to produce better content um, for all you guys and all that good stuff. And if that's just even just more ways to find my content, that as well. So yeah, we'll get that squared away. I'll definitely try to figure that out. But yeah, I don't even know what we were talking about before I got accused of being a bandwagon fan, which I don't care. Go for it. Um, um, I think the main point of what we were talking about was just how the San Francisco 49ers are going to get back on track, and how they're going to be able to uh, uh, be able to go on a run here. Jared Hyde that's like a combination of two players. You took two players and you combined them together. Carlos Hyde and Jared Hayne, I believe his name was. Yeah, we don't like to talk about him around these parts. Any plans to set up a Patreon? Honestly, I don't know much about Patreon. I really don't know the benefits of it. Maybe. But anyways, yeah, I think as we continue to move forward throughout this year, I think the 49ers have an opportunity to continue to add some talent, whether that's, defensive line, defensive tackle, wide receiver. Um, I definitely think that would bode well for them. I think that absolutely could um, they could absolutely use some more talent in some certain areas. They have a lot of talent in a lot of places, and there's a lot of areas where they don't need some help. But I think at defensive line they need some help. That partly due to injuries, and they were already thin heading into the season. Every single year we go into training camp, right, and we identify the strengths and the weaknesses of the roster. And this particular year, the defensive line was the weakness of the roster heading into this. Now, there was some question marks because we didn't really know what Leonard Floyd was going to look like. We didn't really know what Malik Collins was going to look like, or Jordan Elliott, or Yetur Gross-Matos. And that's why, for me, I had concerns of the defensive line, but I also did say that let's wait and see. Let's get into camp and let's see how they perform. Let's get into the season. Let's see how they perform. Where Yetur Gross-Matos, unfortunately, has just been injured for the most part of this year. He just really hasn't been able to get his legs under him and contribute. So he's technically still a TBD. We don't even really know what we have in Yetur Gross-Matos because he was hurt for a portion of training camp. He's been hurt for most of this season. Leonard Floyd has had flashes. I think people want to see more from Leonard Floyd. I think they want to see Floyd flash more and produce more. I think he has generated pressures. I think he has been able to be an aid in the pass rush, but I do think I think people want to see him take it to another level. And I think that's why, too, it would be super cool for the 49ers to go out and get some additional edge help. And when you look at Yetur Gross-Matos, too, he's a guy that you could also play on the inside. He's a guy that you can kick in over the 3-tech. He can rush the passer from the interior, kind of like how they've started using Sam O in some situations. And Sam Okwuonu has been a quality addition. I mean, honestly, I Did not think that Sam O would have the impact that he's had up until this point, but he's been doing really, really well. And I think the 49ers, though, again, with no Hargrave coming back, I mean, both Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch talked about, well, if the 49ers get in the playoffs, that's when we're targeting Hargrave to get back. And I remember I reported that last week, and obviously that was coming off the loss against the Chiefs, and everyone laughed at the idea of like playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. And but that's the case. That's when their target for him to return is for Hargrave to potentially return for the playoffs. And again, that is a realistic option. They, I believe, are tied for first in the division. The division is wide open. I think outside of the Lions right now, it looks like every NFC team is beatable. So the 49ers right now, they control their own destiny. So that's why I'm a big believer that they go buy. I'm a big believer that they go add wherever they can. And we also do know it's a war of attrition. These guys are going to get hurt. We've seen how many injuries the 49ers have sustained already, with 2 kickers getting injured, Talanoa Hufanga getting injured, obviously no Dre Greenlaw, obviously no Christian McCaffrey, Hargrave goes down, Yetur goes down, Kevin Gibbons didn't play last week. Injuries happen, and injuries are a part of the game. And so you have to insulate yourself. And I think that's where really the trades come into fruition for this team. Is they're going to have a shot, but they need quality bodies on the field, and they have to be able to supplement and be able to react to injuries that they have. And we've already seen they've had some injuries. They've had to overcome them. They've done a good job, specifically in the running back room. You think of Christian McCaffrey going down. Jordan Mason, I think, is second or third in the NFL in rushing yards right now. Isaac Rendo had a phenomenal game, and you can see his growth week in and week out. So they've been able to tap into certain areas, running back. They've been able to find and confirm that they have guys at running back. So that makes us feel comfortable that, with Christian McCaffrey coming back, and all signs right now, again, knock on wood, I'm going to knock on as much wood as I need. All signs are pointing to Christian McCaffrey playing in this game, as long as everything from this point on goes smoothly. So you get him back. Obviously, you lose Brandon Ayuk for the year, but you've got a lot of faith in the talent that Juwan Jennings possesses, Deebo Samuel possesses. We're starting to see those glimpses from Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. And, Conley's just like a solid role player. But you also have to keep in mind, Deebo's been hurt this year. Juwan Jennings just missed the last 2 games. Ricky Pearsall missed all of preseason prior to even getting shot. Jacob Cowing's missed time. You have to insulate yourself at wide receiver, in my opinion, because my fear is that you're running out, someone gets dinged up. Like, let's say the 49ers go on a run. Let's say they start stacking wins. Let's say they get a win against the Bucks. They get a win against the Seahawks, and they get a little dinged up at wide receiver. And all of a sudden, you're putting out guys that, are practice squad guys. You're putting out guys that you had no intention of playing. And as a result of that, you have to change your offense. You got to change certain elements of what you're trying to execute. So for me, most of these trades outside of the defensive line is just about insulation, insulating your room, insulating the wide receiver room with some talent. That's why I'm like, I don't love Kendrick Bourne, because I don't think Kendrick Bourne is like a superstar player. I love Kendrick Bourne, former 49er. I love his personality. I actually got to talk to Kendrick Bourne at the Super Bowl, got to interview him. Again, just super great energy. Still has love for the 49er faithful. But, like for Kendrick, it's like he comes in and he can be like what Chris Conley is right now, a role player. He's not going to come in and be an Emmanuel Sanders. Like, remember, the 49ers got Emmanuel Sanders for a 5th round, and he completely changed the complexion of the 49ers offense. Without Brandon Ayuk, that guy, the ex wide receiver who helped change the complexion of the offense, that's kind of more the wide receiver that I would love for them to trade for. But also recognizing you don't want to spend a lot. Um, I think this 49ers front office is very cognizant of the need to build through the draft, especially with the contracts that are coming up. And credit to them, they hit a home run on this past draft class. I think I personally had some hesitations heading into the draft just because of the last 2 drafts that they've put out. Just a lot of duds. And, outside of Brock Purdy really saved the last 2 draft classes. But man, you talk about Ricky looks like he's going to be a guy. Renardo's already a guy. Pooney is, to me, I just did a film breakdown on him today. Posted that to the channel. He's playing like one of the top guards in the NFL, not top rookie offensive lineman, top overall lineman. He is the only guard. There's only one other guard in the NFL right now that has played in 7 games who hasn't given up a sack or a quarterback hit. And that's Joe Thuney, who has been a perennial stud throughout his time in the league. He's now with the Chiefs. And Pooney's a hit. Malik Mustafa looks like he's going to be a starter no matter what. And it sounds like the 49ers are going to have to decide, do we start Talanoa Hufanga or do we start Jair Brown? Because I think at this point, you don't take Malik Mustafa out. He's entering a Pooney situation. Pooney got into the starting lineup due to injury. Because of how Pooney played, he never gave it back up. Malik Mustafa made his way into the starting lineup due to injury, and I do think he is on track to be like, I'm not giving that up. He's playing too well. He's playing really good. And I just think that, I think Jair isn't having as good of a year as I anticipated. I think he's had his moments, but I also think he's had not so good moments as well. And I think you just need consistency back there. You need guys to be able to be consistently where they need to be. And we saw some breakdowns last week. And, not saying that he can't get better and he can't improve and he can't play in a better way. And I believe in Tig. I think Tig has the talent. I think Tig has the ability. It's just doing it consistently. And so, but I think Malik has also played his tail off. And then we just saw Isaac Guerrero. Isaac Guerrero is rounding into form. So, Bethune has been, kind of like a special teams guy, fill-in guy up until this point. Obviously, Jarrett Kingston, we don't know because he's not on the team. He got poached by the Panthers. So, I mean, you talk about the 49ers rookie draft class, they hit really well. And so the point of that is you don't want to necessarily want to sell all your draft picks just to go all in on this year. You got to be really smart with it. Like for me, for them to give up anything more than a 5th round draft pick for a player, it would have to be a guy that they have long-term plans for. I think there's 2 school of thoughts when it comes to trading for someone. Is if you trade for someone, are you trading for a rental? If so, you could get a really good deal on a rental. You could get a pretty decent player, but for not a lot because they are getting traded mid-season. There is an acclimation period. Not everyone that gets traded is an instant plug and play. There is time to learn the playbook, learn the personnel. You have to give time for those players, especially on the offensive side. Christian McCaffrey is an anomaly. He somehow learned the playbook in 2 days. I don't even get it. But he's not normal. He's not human. So I think that I think that if you trade for someone and you go all in, but you go all in for a young player who has multiple years they'll stick with you, that's a different story. But I think if you can target guys who are in the final years of their deal or they're veterans, and you kind of play in that 5 through 7 range, we've been like, I can't even get over the Deontay Johnson trade because the Ravens got him for free. The Deontay Johnson trade reminds me of when the 49ers got Randy Gregory. They got Randy Gregory for, I believe, they got Randy Gregory and a 7th round pick for a 6th round pick. The 6th round pick obviously was 31. And then the pick from the Broncos was obviously at the front end of the round. So it was like they literally had like, I don't know, 10 play pick swap. Like, we got Randy Gregory for free and they paid his whole contract. We got Randy Gregory for free, essentially. That's what they did with Deontay Johnson. I believe they gave up a 6th round draft pick for a 6th round and Deontay to the Ravens for a 5th round, I believe is what it was. And the thought process is the Ravens draft pick is going to be at the end of the draft and the Panthers draft pick is going to be at the very front. So you're literally swapping maybe a handful of picks. It might be a 5-pick difference and you get Deontay Johnson. Like, that was a great trade. Phenomenal trade by the Ravens. And they needed wide receiver help. They went out and got it. And those are the kinds of trades that I would like to see. Like, the only guy that's like super high on my list is Azeez Ojulari. Obviously, I've been screaming for Azeez for probably about 3 weeks now. Just ever since we really started engaging in the trade deadline conversation, Azeez was the first guy that came to my mind. He's a former draft crush. I don't know if you guys are even around at this time, but the Azeez Hive once was a thing. And you're seeing why there was an Azeez Hive. He came out, had a phenomenal game, just on national television, and proved why I think he would be a good guy to target. He brings speed off the edge. He's a really quality pass rusher. And one of the things that I really did enjoy of watching Azeez was he was getting some run stuffs too. So he was playing a lot of downs. And so Azeez he's a 24-year-old in the final year of his contract. And the questions that have been asked to me is, well, why would Ojulari get traded? Why would they trade him? The reason why is because they just traded to get Brian Burns, and they paid Brian Burns as a top 5 defensive end. And then they got Kayvon Thibodeau, who's a top 5 draft pick, who they most likely are going to pay as well. So it doesn't make sense really for them to to pay Burns, Thibodeau, and Azeez Ojulari, and they really don't play Azeez Ojulari. The only reason Azeez is getting this run is because Thibodeau is hurt. If Thibodeau wasn't hurt, Azeez wouldn't be playing. And so obviously, like when you watch and you're like, oh, Azeez is balling, like he's really good. But I'm like, yeah, he's really good. Why would the Giants want to trade him? Because if Thibodeau was playing, he wouldn't be playing. Which was the case prior. So, and with him being into his final season, why would they pay a guy who's definitely earned some money with Kayvon being out? You might as well try to recoup. You might as well try to get something for him, especially when you trade the draft picks away to get Brian Burns. So that's my rationale for why the Giants would trade Azeez Ojulari, is because I don't think they're planning on paying him, and he's in the final year of his contract. But I think that makes him cheaper as well, because you can get a guy who is a rental. You're trading a rental. So that's what makes him more affordable via compensation. So we'll have to see. When is YGM coming back? I don't know. I hope after the bye. They haven't said, I think John Lynch kind of alluded to him coming back today on KNBR. Also, he alluded to the fact that it sounds like Feliciano could be back. It also sounds like Huff could be back if he plays with a cast. And it does sound like Jake Moody will also be back. So it sounds like the 49ers are going to be getting some guys back for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I think they haven't really said a timetable for return for YGM, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that all works out. With him. So what about Buckner and DJ Jones? I mean, man, you mentioned those names, the 49er fans, their eyes are going to light up big time, because absolutely they're going to want those guys on the roster. I would have to imagine that for Defo, you are paying a lot. See, I don't know why the Colts would trade him. I think that's kind of where I come in. My skepticism about that has kind of popped up is, well, why would they trade him? Because I think they're happy with him. Maybe it's because his cap hit jumps from $8 million in 2024 to $26.6 million in 2025. So that to me almost makes it seem like that might not be an option, because Buckner would still be under contract and they would take a $45 million dead cap hit in 2024. And in 2025, the Colts would take a $37 million dead cap hit. So I love the idea of getting DeForest Buckner. I don't know why it's been rumored that that's a possibility. I mean, that would mean the Colts would be willing to have a massive dead cap hit of $37 million against their books next year without that player on the roster. So they're going to have a cap hit, a sizable cap hit regardless, it sounds like. So I think whereas DJ Jones is in the final year of his deal, and that probably makes more sense um, from a contractual standpoint because he's an unrestricted free agent. So you're effectively uh, trading for a you're trading for a rental. He and his dead cap hit isn't very high. It's only about 3 million. So so yeah, I don't think it would be that much. But we'll see. I think the 49ers should be buyers. I think the 49ers should go out and they should they should go make some moves cuz you get players back healthy. You add and inject some talent into the roster. You take a break, you kind of break away from what this year has been. I really think the key for the 49ers to go on a run is mentally escaping this half of the year. I think that's really the key. I think they I think the Super Bowl loss just went into the Ayuk drama. Ayuk drama lasted all off season up until the very end of training camp. Then we had the Trent stuff, and it just was like it felt like a snowball. It just felt like it never ended. And then that went into the season, and then it just kind of felt like uh it just kind of progressed. If they can just take a week off, disengage from this half of the year, and then just re-engage, relock in, um I think that would be a huge, and then you maybe add a piece or two and you get CMC back, you get some players back. It could feel like a whole new season. So I think that's the hope. And if they can do that, if they can get mentally right, because I do think this has been a really exhausting season. I mean, I feel the exhaustion as someone who covers the team. I can't imagine how they feel actually going week in, week out, day in, day out, grinding, 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 and having to actually go out there and be the ones to execute it. I can't even imagine how mentally exhausting that is as a coach, player, staff member. Um, I think I'm mentally exhausted as a content creator. Imagine how they feel. Imagine what they're going through on top of their family lives and the things that they have to struggle through and go outside of what we see from football. So my hope is 100%. This is the mentality. 0-0. You're at 500. So whatever, you're tied for first in the division, it's a complete reset. You get away, escape, don't think about football, don't go on social media, just do everything not football. Do every like Kyle Shanahan, like he was talking about yesterday. Get away. Go get away from football. Just get away from the game. Get away from all of it and reset the mind, reset the soul, and come back refreshed, ready to attack. And that's what I'm doing. Me and I'm working until pretty much Thursday, and then Fam and I we're gonna go head away, take 4 or 5 days, because it's really the only time that we can take any kind of vacation during the football season. So gonna take that. We're gonna get away. I'm gonna unplug for a little bit. I'm gonna kind of get back to like thinking how I can make my content better, where we can improve in certain areas for the content and continue to build this thing out. And come back fresh, come back ready to go, come back ready to attack the content, come back ready to produce better content, and do all those different types of things. So that's kind of the goal for me. So I can imagine the same would apply for people who it's their job too. Their job is to play. Their job is to coach. Their job is to service the team as a staff member in any capacity. So break the bye couldn't have come at a better time. I think it's perfectly placed. Then they're on the road, and then you got a division game, and then you're on the road back to back. Packers, Bills, Bears at home, Rams at home, on the road to the Dolphins, Lions for a big week 17 matchup. I know a lot of people think that the schedule looks tough, but I think the schedule is pretty balanced. So I think the 49ers are in a good spot. I think that they're positioned in a way to be able to attack this next half of the season, and absolutely be able to get back on track. So that's it, man. I know this first half of the season's been rough, but hey, just like Brian said, 0-0. That's the mentality. Start fresh, start new. It's a new season. That's how you gotta approach it. So we'll go from there. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Grab your cookies on the way out. Shout out to everyone who's tapping in. Appreciate all the good vibes. Shout out to my guy Yankin for screaming at me that I'm a bandwagon fan. I never thought that was going to happen again, but it happened again. Yeah, I even had the Jerry Rice jersey behind me, and I still got accused of being a bandwagon fan. Hey, you got me. I bought all this stuff on Craigslist 3 days ago. So shout out to everyone as always, for tapping in. Again, if you guys go to anything, make sure you're tapping in with TickPick, all that good stuff. Shout out to TickPick for sponsoring the channel. Appreciate all you guys. And I'll be back tomorrow. All right. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.